With the advance of AI and Gen AI, the cost of production has gone so much down. If you look a few years back, cost of production for creatives was the prohibitive factor. Now it doesn't cost that much. And the prohibitive factor is not creating the ads, it's testing them. Each and every ad that you create, you'll need to invest money to see if it works. And if it doesn't, you kill it. If it does, great. You double down, you triple.
All right, this episode is for B2B SaaS. If you're running paid ads and frustrated with the quality, we're going to cover some interesting ideas here that I think can help you tune your campaigns for optimal results. Today, I'm chatting with Eran Friendinger, co-founder and CTO of Voyantis. Welcome to the show, Eran.
Thank you, Lee. Happy to be here.
Yeah. So I always ask my guests, give a little background of kind of how did you end up here to give some context for your ideas.
Okay. So I'm a software engineer by training. And my first job was in the industry, was at a company called Takey, which was an ad tech company back in 2011, dealing with brand advertising and advertising according to the trends in social media. So what people were talking about and kind of tailoring creatives and targeting to the conversations that were almost real time. And then after being there about for 2 years, I found that I'm very attracted to performance marketing rather than brand marketing, because I'm a data scientist by training as well. And I like when I've got feedback data to improve whatever I'm trying to, type of feedback I'm trying to create. So when I left Takey, I started a company called Audience, which is with a play on the audience and science, the words audience and science. And Audience, so I started with 2 friends. So 3 of us set out to build a predictive analytics platform for mobile advertising back at the end of 2012, and to help them understand their users and basically harness their first-party data. That company was acquired after 18 months by Market.com in the UK, an e-commerce platform. And I stayed there for a few more years. So that's kind of like the trajectory that took me into the marketing space to begin with. And I was already coming into that with a passion for analytics and big data. My main takeaway from Audience was that the predictive analytics platform is step 1, but for marketers to get analytics and insights is not enough to actually translate this into actual business impact. And they often find themselves at a loss when they actually need to translate those insights into actions, and actions mean automations, right? If you know that a specific audience would respond well to a specific type of messaging because of what happened in their data and in their interaction with your product, you now need to somehow automate this into creating relevant creatives, targeting those relative interests, and then actually serving ads to them, and then repeat the process again and again. So building this kind of automation loop requires engineers, data people, operations, and so on, and which usually are not at the disposal of the go-to-market teams. And so at this point, I've kind of, my takeaway from Audience was whatever I'm going to build next needs to take it all the way through to automating the loops that would create business value. Then when I met my co-founder and our CEO, Ido, we talked about that a lot. And we thought about the fact that generally go-to-market teams, whether they're sales teams or marketing teams or product marketing teams, need to be able to close that loop. But it's also very important to find the killer use cases for automation, because there's a lot that you can just go like just running in a spare wheel and not really actually creating value. So we spent a year and a half looking for those killer use cases, and that's what Voyantis does today. We can expand on that, but this is how we got to that. And today, Voyantis does exactly that. We help companies activate their data, turn their data into actual ROI, ROAS. We help you serve the ads to the right people, bring in your high value customers. We help you activate them once they're in and get them to actually become a payer after they start testing your product from 0 to 1. And we also help incentivize the right upsell at the right time with the right message. So throughout the journey.
All right. Well, I mean, that's a pretty extensive background, and it's cool to see the progression of how you went from the technical to really what I would define as like more psychological, where you're getting into the interest of the buyers, which I think is where it's won. I mean, that's where you're going to win people is, oh wow, they know me, but how do they really know what I'm thinking, right? So getting several layers deep. Let's jump into this because I think you have a lot of value to give marketers. How do most B2B SaaS marketers approach paid ads?
So it really depends on whether you're talking about search or social ads, but the common thing is that when you set it up to begin with, you'll probably be just you're always in a need to teach the network something so it can then harvest turn story to gold for you. So there's always this tuition fee that you have to pay, right? And you pay it with marketing spend, both for the network to learn and for the marketer to learn. So for the network to learn, just because the first time you ask it to bring you a paying customer, network is not going to do a very good job because it will, okay, you're a SaaS business, I'll try to get you to potential customers that would buy a SaaS product. But what will they buy your SaaS product? And me as an ad network, first ad that you run, I don't know anything about your business yet. I'm going to get much better at it once you start providing me with feedback. You spend a few dollars on my platform. I send some traffic in your direction. And then you say, okay, these bunch of clicks resulted in nothing. These bunch of clicks actually drove some good traffic. And then the network keeps improving. So that's the tuition you pay at the network level. And whenever you start with a new network, you pay it again. So you do it in Meta, you do it in TikTok, you do it in Google, you do it in Bing, every time, and every marketer knows that, right? There's also the tuition that you pay on yourself. So what's the best setup for the campaigns? What's my targeting, landing pages, and so on. Once you get all of that working, you start leveling up, right? You start increasing the spend and you start improving your performance. The main contract or the main API or protocol between marketer and ad network is that feedback. And that feedback needs to happen, one, quickly code naming in the first 7 days after an ad is shown or an ad is clicked. Two, it needs to be one thing that you said. You want to optimize for sign up. Okay. You want to optimize for plans? Fine. You want to optimize for purchase? Also fine. Choose one for each campaign. And also it has to happen frequently enough, right? Because there's a minimum number of feedbacks, of conversions that you need to provide to the network for the network to be able to learn. So when you begin, you'll probably be optimizing for visits, website visits, or registration, or signups, just because you have not yet not yet reached the level of spend that would drive anything else that you look at, like trial started or, God forbid, purchases. It's just going to be so few and far between. Network is not going to learn anything. And then that starts working. You start increasing your spend, and you get more volume. Then you can say, okay, I can go down the funnel. I no longer need to look at visits. I can look at registrations. I no longer need to look at registration. I can look at trial started, whatever. And so you keep leveling up those events, those conversions, and you need to pay that tuition fee for the network every time you do that. But it is worth it if you're going to increase the spend. At some point, you reach a point where even if you want to go deeper down the funnel, you can't. Even if you increase spend, because they happen too late. So if you think about most SaaS businesses, they either have a freemium model or a free trial model, right? It's very rare to have a B2B product that actually makes money off the bat, unless it's more transactional or volume-based, consumption-based, in which case, still, most of the volume and consumption will probably not happen in the first few days. And then when you've reached that point, that's it. You're kind of stuck. And this is where you're going to have this split brain between what your team is being measured on and what you are measuring the ad network on. It's going to be different. You're measuring the ad network on trial started, but you're being measured on paying customers, right? At the quarterly level, that's your goal. You have like spend goals, volume goals, and cost goals, cost per paying customer. Or maybe even ROAS goals, like actual return on ad.
That's a good point. And it sounds like you're just saying setting expectations on both sides of expectations of the platform, expectations of what you're trying to do internally. So, automatically you're painting a roadmap, you're putting together a roadmap of a much longer cycle than just jumping on and getting results. So that's become real obvious. And it sounds to me like, from a content marketer standpoint, it sounds like you're almost like working through top, middle, bottom funnel data. Like you're trying to get a wide TAM and lots of data that you can then refine and optimize through your call to actions through the funnel.
That's exactly it. And at one point, you can no longer go deeper down the funnel, although you want to. Right? That's the big pain there. And then you have to go with analytics, right? It could be AI, it could be just regular predictive analytics, it could be simplistic, but you have to start playing with your data to actually get a quick enough feedback to provide the network and your own team. Forget about the network. Like you run a campaign, you spend, $1,000 a day. It's been 3 days. You've spent $3,000. Is it working? Should you kill this campaign? Should you actually increase the budget? No paying customers yet. They're only signups. What do you do?
Yeah.
Right. So probably what you do is you'd say, okay, there's no paying customers yet, but those users that came in 3 days ago, how many of them actually have been coming back day after day?
Uh-huh.
How many of them invited other teammates? How many of them used a specific feature that is very indicative in the platform of reaching a paywall and maybe actually becoming a paying customer and so on? So we're going to start doing all these slicing and dicing in your analytics, assuming you have the resources, the analytical resources to do it, which is not trivial. And once you do that, you actually want to kind of make this your new normal. This is how I'm going to measure. We're going to measure not by signups, but by signups from a corporate email or signups that had at least 3 team members, right? And so on. And AI is just the natural way of extending this Excel-like analysis into microsegments. So look at all of the data, all of the behavior of your cohort of users within your product. And basically, they're telling you what the customer product fit is, right? Mm-hmm. For each and every single individual customer. And then for each, this is basically like lead scoring, right? It's the equivalent of lead scoring to sales. When you look at all of the data that you have, say, how good are they? How good is my product as a fit for this customer? And you're going to use every evidence that you can gather, whether it's behavioral evidence or user attributes or device attributes or location, right? So that's actually the way to win there.
Okay, I like that. Well, we'll come back to lead scoring here in a minute. You're talking a lot about honestly, kind of just startup, go to market and trying to really go to, let's say, Google paid ads, and you're gonna really get the platform to learn what you're doing. You're learning at the same time, and as you're building, you're getting more educated. You're going to start to sell people, and of course, it depends on your model and how you're selling your product, and what stages they have to go through. But at some point, you're gonna probably get pretty close to the ideal market, and you're going to dial that in. What's at that point then what's a good way to target more valuable customers, more so than just new customers?
So in order to target more valuable customers, I would say there are 2 main levers, or maybe 3 levers for a marketer. One is the actual targeting, like demographics, locations, interests, keywords, so on. The second one would basically be your creatives. Like right? Whether it's the text that you put in the results of the Google search or the video ad that you show and so on. The third one is the feedback that you're providing back to the networks. So let's start with the creatives themselves. I think it's somewhat counterintuitive until you think about it for a second, but an ad is an audience, right? In the sense that for each specific ad, there's an audience that ad would resonate with. Right? We need to find that audience, but somewhere out there's the audience, loud or small, that would fit this ad. This does not guarantee that audience is a good fit for your product. As is often seen with gaming ads where the ad has nothing to do with the game. Right?
Yeah.
So it's not enough to find the right audience for the ad, which is what the network does very well.
Right.
You need to make sure that the audience that the ad targets is also good for your product. So different ads means different targeting. And if you want to look for the high value customers, you could try different ads and see which one of them drives high value customers. Right. So that's a huge part. And I think with the advance of AI and Gen AI, the cost of production has gone so much down. If you look a few years back, the cost of production for creatives was the prohibitive factor in why not just run lots of creatives, because it costs money to build, to create them. Now it doesn't cost that much. And the prohibitive factor is not creating the ads, it's testing them. Each and every ad creative that you create, it will lead to invest money to see if it works. And if it doesn't, you kill it. If it does, great. You double down, you triple down.
Okay.
So that's one aspect, the creative. The other aspect is the targeting. And that aspect is slowly going away because the ad networks, so you could try, like you think a few years back, you could target interest groups in Meta and so on, right? This is going away. Every ad network is pushing you towards broad targeting. Even in search, where you have keywords, they have a target, they're pushing you towards broader targeting. And the new advertising products like Performance Max and Universal Ad Campaigns and AAA and Advantage Plus and so on, all of those new products are basically telling you to stop telling us who to target. We know better than you. You just give us the creative and the signal and the feedback, and we'll find the best customers for you. Well, there's always going to be some level of targeting. You're going to be allowed like geo and demographics because there are some audiences you don't want your ad spend to go at all. But the ad networks are getting more and more opinionated about this. So I would say that's an interesting part. And especially when you think about conversational AI and how this would monetize into ads, this almost by definition, even keywords are no longer relevant in the world of conversational search. What keyword are you going to, there's the whole conversation going on there. How can you say what keyword you want to target? So the ad networks will, this is an evolving thing right now, but I'm guessing it will be just give us the video, the image, the landing page, and the feedback signal, and just let us do this whole very, very complex AI machine learning thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I see that more and more as a user too, just using different tools and platforms and apps and stuff, and how they're targeting me as a consumer. They've got it pretty dialed in.
They do. And so out of those three, we covered creatives, we covered targeting. Then you've got the signal itself, the feedback. And I think that is the most underlooked, almost overlooked lever that you have as a marketer, because it is super strong. So you always you use it and you improve it at the beginning as you go to scale, and then you get stuck, as I said. However, there's this whole concept of value-based bidding or value optimization or target trust. There are different names for it. It's smart bidding. But the idea is that the user is not either good or bad for your business. And your product is not either good or bad for this user. Different users are going to get different values from your product. So you should price them differently in the sense of what bid would you put on a possible impression for them. And the best way to do that is use max conversion value, target trust, value optimization, all of those smart bidding strategies in the ad networks. That, however, requires that your feedback is not binary. It's not a yes or no. It's not a good or bad. It's on how much dollars is this specific user going to be worth to your business. If you do that, if you can provide that kind of feedback to the network, efficiency explodes. It's like you can get gains of tens of percentages, 20, 30, 40%, even see 100% improvement in loss, which will then let you scale significantly. And some businesses have it easier doing that, and some businesses have it hard. So the ones that have it easier is anybody that is like trying to make excuse my French, but trying to make a quick buck. Not in the sense that they're not providing value, but in the sense that they're trying to make back their money very quickly. And that would usually be industries where it's like a bootstrap business, often e-commerce, as that when you're running on very low margin and whatever ad you're showing, you want to make it back on the first order, right? You don't have time to wait like 90 days or with 1 year to make back the money, unlike SaaS companies when it's flipped. So if you're an e-commerce company or I don't know, hyper casual gaming company where you make the money very quickly and users would not stay long in your app, then you can use value optimization in the ad network and actually provide the dollar value that you're making, and that would work amazingly well. Okay, so if there's an e-commerce marketer and you're not using value optimization, you should just do it. You don't need AI for it. You don't need anything. Just do it. It would improve your performance. But other businesses, especially those that cultivate long-lasting relationships and loyalty with their customers and plan on expansions of revenue, especially like in SaaS businesses where it's not only that people will take time to start buying, it's even when they start paying you, they are more likely to pay you more if you wait more exponentially or as their team grows and they upgrade to higher tiers. In that case, you cannot send the value within the first 7 days. There's just no actual revenue to send. And then what do you have to do? You have to model the value. And then you need AI. And if you can use AI to capture all of the behavior of a single individual customer within your product in the first 7 days, preferably in the first 24 hours if you can, by the way, and you can model this into kind of a predicted lifetime value, which is what we do at Voyantis as well. And if you have the right methodology of sending it back to the network and signaling it what a good user looks like and how much they're worth, then you get those guys I'm talking about. So we work with customers like Neo and Honeybook, NerdWallet, and so on. We've seen a lot of improvement, as I said, north of 20%. Often north of 40, 50%.
Yeah, that's amazing. And it sounds like the thread through this whole conversation is feedback. It's looking for those signals from the very, very first ad run all the way to customer retention and lifetime value.
Yeah. And it's as applicable, not just to the case of paid marketing and user acquisition. If you think about a CRM of users that have signed up for your platform but have not yet become payers, then there's a bunch of ways you could think about how to incentivize them to move further down the funnel, but it's only going to work if it's relevant for them. Right? Some of your free users are just not relevant. If you're a tool like Miro, and let's say a teacher signs up for your service to demonstrate something for his class of students, the chances of that account becoming a paying customer, it doesn't matter what you'll tell them. Like, they don't need to pay, they won't pay, they don't know how to pay. So sometimes it's not relevant, but if it is relevant, you want to know how and when to act.
Yeah.
And again, if you apply AI and machine learning to crystallize all of the behavior of the user within your product, then you can prioritize who to talk to, who to approach, when to approach, and what the messaging should be, and should it include some kind of financial incentive, such as a discount or free trial or whatever. And that's also very valuable. Not to mention the fact that when you're talking about actual salespeople or SDRs talking to SaaS customers, that's a very, very pricey resource, right?
Yeah.
So you really want to prioritize that.
let's get back to that because you mentioned it earlier about lead scoring. So, talk more about how, lead scoring to prioritize.
Yes. So with lead scoring, you need to basically score your customers either by their potential to become a paying customer, or even better, just by the potential to become a paying customer times how much will they actually pay. So the expectancy, the expected revenue from that customer. And you really want to do that to be able to prioritize your very expensive resources such as SDRs and salespeople. And you can do it on, I would say, either a CRM of leads or your user base of free users, where you have more data about their behavior, because leads are just leads. But your CRM of users is significant. Or to prioritize between what we call hand raisers, right? People that are actually using the product, and then while using the product, they click the talk to sales or button, right? So these are the three streams that you could look at all of them together, because usually you look at them separately. Like you've got people that are taking care of analysis. You've got people that are taking care of like just the leads that just came in and filled out some form. Other people that are trying to reach out like as account managers to their free users. And you should actually look at it together. It's a joint pool of customers, and you should always prioritize the cost of the resource that you're going to basically assign to them with the possible outcome and the probability of them becoming a paid customer. So that's how I see it.
Love that. This has been very eye-opening and affirming for a lot of the ideas I've currently had. I live in the content marketing world more so than the performance marketing or product marketing, and so it's good to see a lot of the same ideas are being translated there. And to the nature of I named my agency Signal Media, because when it comes down to it, what you're really trying to get at is the signal. Like, what are all the signals?
Exactly.
And almost like as we're talking about feedback, it resonates a lot with me. I mean, this is how I think, but it's almost like, how they have sales enablement positions, or they'll have kind of like the role behind the roles. I almost think that there should be some evolution in marketing, where, especially B2B SaaS, where there should be a feedback driven role, where it's almost like they're like a CRO type of role, but they're more focused just on gaining feedback at all the touch points. So they're the signal, communicator, not necessarily that they would push out messaging, but that they would be taking in all the data, making sure it all comes in at every point. And I think, like, talking to the AI piece of it, I think then if you can bring all that data internally as much as possible, you can apply machine learning to that new layer, and it tells you so much more. It'll tell you that it'll probably affirm a lot of the hunches that you've had. Like a lot of things you're mentioning are kind of hunches. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's always like when you look at the predicted LTV model, a lot of the signals there are very intuitive. Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I knew that. What it does is it formalizes the structure and relationship between those hunches.
And it will give you new innovative insights into not only the product, but your audience, of how you connect both of those together. I think having that new layer that's been sort of told to you and confirmed, I think that'd be super valuable.
I agree. I see it all the time. It's definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing. Well, thanks for coming on the show and bringing all your practical wisdom. I mean, you have a lot of experience through the years of going from technical to psychological, and now applying all of that thinking technically with AI. I think is just a huge thing. So thanks for being on the show. If we want to send people your way, where do we send them?
Well, they can email me at Eran, ERAN, at Voyantis.ai. It's VOYNTIS.ai. Or you can just reach out on LinkedIn, Eran Friendinger. That would be great.
It's awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.